So this guy was famous, and you can imagine that there would be publications all over Europe featuring his image, something like this perhaps. And what happened a lot of times with card makers is that they would take wood blocks from other publications, books, or whatever the version of newspapers would have been at the time, and repurpose those for their playing cards. So this is all conjecture, I want to make that clear, but I'm guessing that these star cards with the astronomer were probably the result of images of Tycho Brahe being pretty readily available. Hey, this is Ina from Taproot Tarot, and good news, YouTube really likes me. Bad news, that means they're putting some ads on my channel, so if you've noticed that, sorry about that. I'm nowhere near close to qualifying for monetization yet, so that means they can put ads on my channel and there's nothing I can do about it to adjust any settings or anything. So sorry about that. I thought about, maybe should I just start using a lot of real filthy language? Maybe show all the naked tarot cards to get them to stop putting ads on my channel? But you can't blame them, YouTube provides a service and they got to stay in business, so what can you do? I just wanted to let you know that I hope it's not a lot, and if it is, I'm so sorry, there's not much I can do. Today I am here to talk to you about my full and new moon decks and how they chose themselves. My moon practice, I hope I didn't hype it up too much because it is pretty basic. It's really just a way for me to remember not to always be charging forward, and remember to take time to reflect and release and even just surrender for part of the cycle. Now, my own energetic cycles don't always line up with the moon cycles, so it's also an opportunity to have some body awareness and recognize where what my actual energy needs are, even when they don't line up with the lunar cycle. But paying attention to the lunar cycle has been a good tool for me to just remember to do that. And I do this with the Writual Planner. This isn't an advertisement for that planner, it just happens to be the one that I use. And I've used it a number of times. The version I got this year is the 1 card a day pull, which she hasn't had available in the past. So before, the daily pull was 3 cards. And up until this year, I was really still using guidebooks and looking at meanings to do my journaling, and 3 cards a day was too much. Of course, you can still just choose one, but when there's a spot for 3 cards, I want to choose 3 cards. So that's what I tended to do. And I had a harder time sticking with the practice. So I was really glad that she came out with 2 options now, and there is a card a day one. My goal is this year to improve my reading skills to the level that I can switch back to the 3 card a day without having to look up any meanings for next year. So that's my goal. But one of my favorite things about this planner is the new moon and full moon draws that you can do. This planner does have an astrological focus, which I don't pay too much attention to. That's not really my wheelhouse, but I do like the moon phase aspect of it. So I'll just show this to you real quick. It has the moon phases with the dates. And then I don't want to show that too much since I don't own the rights to this or anything, but the new moon is new beginnings, and then it has a nice description. Waxing crescent is growth, first quarter is action, waxing gibbous is assessment, full moon harvest, waning gibbous, gratitude. The third or last quarter is release, and waning crescent is surrender. Now, all of those that are listed after the full moon, those are the ones that I really struggle with and forget to do, and forget that those are needed as well. So a lot of us have this, we're all mostly socialized within our growth economy system, which obviously is not sustainable. So we have that mindset of always striving forward. Not all of us, but many of us do. And so it's just kind of ingrained in many of us, and in me for sure. But then your body makes you take that time to reflect and release if you don't do it yourself. So rather than participating in that part of the cycle by getting sick or being burned out, it's better to get ahead of it and make sure to incorporate that time of rest and release in our daily or monthly lives, I suppose. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, so I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but this is what I've just found is helpful for me. I go through my planner each month and I write those into it. And then you can draw cards for the full and new moons. And I do like the way she has it set up. So here's the full moon coming up, She has it listed after the upcoming week, but the full moon is coming up on Monday. And then you have an opportunity to draw some cards and journal about each one. Now, these cards are in the journal individually, and I've shown in a previous video how I actually have started to lay those out more in spreads in order to read them as a spread rather than reading each card individually. And then I still journal about it. The full moon journal is more about reflecting on what you've accomplished up until now in the lunar cycle, and then reflecting on what's no longer serving me, how you can let go and release that energy, and what can I learn during this lunar cycle. So it kind of prepares you for the upcoming waning portion of the lunar cycle. I decided early on that I wanted to have a specific deck each for my full moon draw and my new moon draw, and even just to draw with on a more casual daily level around the full and new moon. So that meant that I had to choose which decks to use. And I'm going to tell you a story about how they kind of chose themselves, especially the first one. So first of all, I want to tell you about my first couple of artisan decks. I have a couple. I have this, the Jakob Jörger Tarot de Besançon, which is lovely. And the other one that I received in that shipment, this was quite some time ago, was the Viaville. And when I first received them, and this says a lot about how far I've come and as far as learning about cardstock and things like that, when I first received them, they have the gorgeous flexible linen cardstock, which is an absolute dream to shuffle. But I had never held a deck like that before, and I thought, oh no, these are so thin and flimsy, I'm going to wreck them. I can't actually use these cards. So I was glad that I got them, but I thought I wouldn't be able to actually use them. And thank goodness for some walkthroughs. Esther from Mindful Tarot, I think, has talked about how much she loves artisan cardstock. So that made me realize that, no, this is actually a good thing. Linen is pretty sturdy. You have to be a little careful, but you're not going to destroy them by using them. And in fact, they're wonderful to shuffle and wonderful to work with, especially for someone like me who doesn't have huge hands. So I ended up loving the cardstock, but I really thought that I was going to keep them in order and just keep them as decks that I used to learn about historical decks. Now, that plan changed when I was coming up on the new moon at one point and thinking about, well, which deck do I want to choose to do this card draw? I'd like to designate a specific deck. And I was literally thinking about that and looking around at some other decks as I was holding my Viaville and looking at it. And I swear that deck just exploded out of my hands. And I don't know what happened. This has never happened before, but it's almost like the deck said, no, I don't want to be kept in order. I want to be used. So I am going to just fling myself all over the room. I was walking around the room picking up cards. I seriously have no idea what I did. I am clumsy, but I'm not that clumsy. So I don't know what happened, but I really feel like, I don't know. I don't really give my decks personalities on purpose, but they kind of seem to tell me that they have personalities sometimes. So I don't know what happened there. But then I started looking at the Viaville and I noticed aspects about it that really kind of said new moon deck to me and made me choose that as my new moon deck. So I'm going to turn this camera around and we'll start talking about some decks. And after we do that, we will do an unboxing of my newest Artisan tarot cards, and actually my first order directly from Artisan. So let's get into it. And here is the tin that I keep both my full and new moon decks in. You can see it has enough room for 2 decks, and it's got a nice lunar pattern on it. But I am actually questioning my practice of keeping them together in a tin. These tins are a little annoying, but I'm still working out how I want to store all my decks. And this is the Jacques Viaville by Artisan. It's a deck from 1650. And this is the one that exploded all over my dining room that I had to go around and pick up because it apparently wanted to make sure that it would get used and not just be kept in order in its box. And I started noticing some aspects of it that kind of said new moon to me. One of them, and this is a very common back that you'll see in historical decks, but you can see that the white circle in the middle is crossed out. So to me that kind of says new moon. The colors of this deck are so beautiful and have kind of a muted quality to them that also says new moon to me. So just noticing these beautiful gradient grayish blues and the nice deep eggplant purples. This is a deck that has some different celestial cards, starting with lightning. So instead of the tower, it has a lightning card. And this is a representation of lightning up here. And these are, you know, the light sparks coming off the tree. For those of us who live in agricultural communities, we know this is a real bad situation because the roots of the tree can actually carry the charge of the lightning and electrocute anyone or any animal who is standing over the roots. So people have lost entire flocks of animals that take shelter underneath a tree during a lightning storm because the tree roots end up electrocuting the poor critters. So this is a bad situation. Very much a tower moment for somebody whose livelihood is their herd, and of course not great for the poor critters either. So I'll just let you take a look at some of these gorgeous colors. Another thing about this deck is that all of the faces are not just background white. You can see they're actually brighter white than the background. So they look like moon people to me. And that is another indication to me that this would be an appropriate moon deck. Obviously the new moon doesn't look bright white, but still. I love this gorgeous temperance card. The faces in this deck are just gorgeous. Oh, and I think I've mentioned recently the Via Veal Sun card. And again, this is from 1650, so you can see where Pixie got her inspiration probably for her version of the Sun card. I don't want to do a full walkthrough. Here's the one of the ones I was thinking of. So this is the Astronomer as the star card. This isn't something I've looked up, but just based on remembering what I learned in school, I'm guessing this is Tycho Brahe. I think he was Swedish or otherwise Scandinavian. And he took nautical measuring devices and scaled them up in order to be able to measure distance of celestial bodies, and was able to get the most accurate measurements pre-telescope. So this guy was famous, and you can imagine that there would be publications all over Europe featuring his image, something like this perhaps. And what happened a lot of times with card makers is that they would take wood blocks from other publications, books, or whatever the version of newspapers would have been at the time, and repurpose those for their playing cards. So this is all conjecture, I want to make that clear, but I'm guessing that these star cards with the Astronomer were probably the result of images of Tycho Brahe being pretty readily available. So that's the star card of this. And you know, it says reflection and observation to me, which is great for a new moon deck. The coins in this deck are black, which is another new moon attribute for me. We'll keep this one out because you can see there's a dark circle here. Set that aside. This is one of the earliest decks that has faces on the beasts or horses that are carrying or pulling the chariot. You can see this one has a hoof, but this one has a paw. So they aren't sphinxes, but it's a little unclear what they are. You know, some kind of early Renaissance rendering of some kind. More of these moon people faces. A lot of the heads are disproportionately large, which also kind of reminds me of moon people. I don't know what moon people are, but if there were moon people, perhaps they would look like this. Okay, here's the main reason. So this moon card has somebody spinning wool into yarn. So at the point of the new moon, that's when we reach the lowest ebb of energy in the lunar cycle, and we start building back up again. So spinning wool into yarn, or the act of spinning, really reminds me of that process in the new moon portion, or the waxing portion of the lunar cycle. And this also has a nice dark and moody moon to it, which I think is a good new moon option. So I think that is most of what made me decide to use this as my new moon deck. If I even made that decision. Did the deck make the decision for me? Perhaps. I don't know. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous deck though. I'll just flip through the rest so you can have a look. There are better walkthroughs of this if you want something more detailed. I just don't want it to go on too long. All right. So that brings us to what did I choose for my full moon deck. And that was a situation where the day of I still hadn't decided yet. And so I was sitting there at my table surrounded by several decks and really just dropped into an intuitive space and waited to feel that kind of pulse in the heart center as I was gazing back and forth across different deck options. And when I did feel that was with the Convos deck, oddly enough. And I wasn't sure why. Like, there's nothing on this box really that indicates full moon to me. And it really is just a great daily workhorse deck by AGM. I love AGM cardstock. But then I pulled it out of his box and saw that it has what appears to be a big old full moon on it. And then I started flipping through it, and I noticed one of the first things is that it has my favorite sort of representation of the lobster or other crustacean in the moon deck, which is that it's blue, and visually to me that appears that it's down deep in the depths. And the full moon is a time to start, you know, diving into the waning cycle and delve into those depths a bit. The other aspect is that all of the cups, the rims, are white and look like big bright circles like the full moon. And throughout the deck there are lots and lots of white full circles. You can see them all over. And the coins do have some black in them, but they also have a white center. And then I'll compare these two. Here is the Ace of Cups from the Via Veal compared to the Ace of Cups from the Convos. And you can see the Convos has several white circles, most notably this one. Whereas and this one up here too, and the Via Veal has a darkened circle. And the more I'm looking at these, the more I'm questioning the fact that I'm kind of thinking of getting a different full moon deck. So here is the Pépesse with a bunch of possible full moons on her headpiece. In general, the deck is brighter in coloring than the Via Veal. The bells on the Fool could be reminiscent of full moons. Even Justice's scales have white, empty interiors, and then another white circle on her headpiece. There's another one there. So once I kind of let my intuition draw me to this deck and then took a look at it, I thought, oh yeah, this is a great full moon deck. Now, I was questioning that choice because I do keep these two in a tin together. And I was kind of thinking it would be nice to have two decks that matched each other a little better, like two Artisan Tarots. So I should maybe look at the Artisan site and see if they have a different deck that I would like to use as my full moon deck. And the other thing is that this Convos, like I said, oh, and here's one where the Queen of Wands has a silver circlet of laurels rather than a green crown of laurels, or this, you know, represented as a braid of her hair. It's more of a silver circlet, which I like. But yeah, I was thinking of replacing this as my full moon deck with another Artisan deck, just to be a little more matchy-matchy. But two things I'm questioning now that I'm going through this. I'm like, this really is a great full moon deck. I do like having it just as a daily deck, though. This is one of my favorites. There's something about the AGM Tarot de Marseille Convos that, you know, it's just sturdy, but it's still pretty flat. I don't know why. I love the shape of this. It's wide. It's a typical tarot size, I think. But it's kind of wide and flat, which just makes it really easy for me to work with. So I'm questioning whether I want to keep this as my full moon deck. Do I need one deck to be my full moon? You know, could I use this when I feel like it as my full moon deck, and but also still use it as a daily deck? I don't know. I haven't really decided what the rules are. Are there any rules? Who knows? But I've just recently placed my first Artisan order. Not too recently. I've had this box for over a week and a half. I mentioned before that I had meant to do this unboxing a while ago. And we've had some family things to deal with. A family member has been in a bad accident and is going to have a long road to recovery. And now it's just kind of become the norm. So we're getting used to it and we're getting through it. And I want to thank all of you who sent me some kind thoughts when I mentioned this before. But because of that, I've had this box sitting here unopened. So let's go ahead and get it opened up. I haven't done an unboxing on camera before, so please bear with me. This looks pretty nicely packaged, nothing too fancy. And what do we have? This is a Jean Dodal. I have a version of this by Pablo Robledo, as well as Tarot des Ambiguities by Alejandro Rojan. So I'm excited about these. When I went onto their site, the first one that stood out to me was this one, because I thought, you know, the full moon can be a time of reflection on your accomplishments in the previous lunar cycle, and a time to get ready to go into a more reflective, waning phase. But it can also be a time when people begin to act a little out of character. And for anyone who has worked in any kind of personal care situation, whether you're teaching kids in school or taking care of people otherwise, everyone kind of knows that the full moon is going to be a time when you're going to have to manage behaviors that you wouldn't be managing otherwise. So that, because of that, this maybe a little bit said full moon to me. Now, I decided I certainly wouldn't want this to be my regular full moon deck, because that's not really the vibe I'm going for during my moon practice. But it's nice to have as an option, and I've been eyeing this forever. In fact, I just responded to a post by Simon from Hermit's Cave because he's celebrating 20,000 subscribers. I'm actually hoping to hop onto that live here pretty soon as a viewer. But he requested that we tell him our memories of his channel, and this walkthrough I found out by searching my history on my personal channel. This was the first video I ever found of Simon's. It was a nice coincidence because I was already planning on unboxing this today, and then I just happened to find out that that was the way I found Simon's channel. So if you do want to see a full unboxing of this, definitely go check out his walkthrough. This is the same artist who did the Medieval Feathers Tarot. So obviously super talented, wonderful artist. He also did a RWS Marseille blend. So for folks who are interested in that. So here, let's stop and talk about this deck a little bit though. Tarot des Ambiguités is a reimagination of the Tarot de Marseille, faithful to its style and inspired by its symbolism. A vibrant narrative emerges from its evocative art, hand-drawn by Alejandro Arrojan in Cuba. Details of this original deck are explored in Tarot Shapeshifter, its guidebook written by Stephen Bright. Huh, I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to check that out. These powerful images were designed to enhance the invitation of seasoned readers and enhance the intuition of seasoned readers and excite newcomers to the rich and evolving tarot tradition. So this really switches things up on you. Here we have the Fool is in place of the creature behind him, and a werewolf-looking guy is in place of the Fool. And I will just do a quick little flip through for you without too much commentary. But there is a lot that just gets switched around. Elements of other cards are brought into these cards. She's holding one of the curved scepters from the Pip cards rather than her usual straight sword. This is wild. So super creative. Two faces are switched here. Lots of life in this death card. So it's intended to bring you to a less rational, I think, and more intuitive place. And just kind of trick your mind a little bit. This is one of my favorite cards. So you remember the Vieille Sun card. Well, this includes the more standard Tarot de Marseille Solar Twins, and then the sun is riding on the horse like the child in the Vieille Sun card. I love this so much. And not only is it fun and creative, but it also expresses a deep understanding of tarot history and a deep familiarity with the art. And I very much respect that. Some of these pips get a little gruesome. We've got body parts in each suit, hands for the swords. And feet, legs for clubs. So it's a little weird. And then hearts for cups. And finally heads for coins. I love this deck. I'm really looking forward to exploring it. And you know, there might be days when this is the vibe I'll be looking for my full moon practice. So it'll be nice to have that as an option. And that is Tarot des Ambiguités by the artist Alejandro Arrojan. Ultimately, browsing through the Artisan site, I decided that this Dodal would be probably the best full moon option. They have a Convert, but I have so many Convert decks, I wasn't too excited to get another one of those. I do have another Dodal, Pablo Robledo, but it's a wonderful deck, so I didn't mind having another one, and their version of it is lovely. So let's check it out. A Faithful Restoration, based on the tarot created in Lyon by Jean Dodal in 1701. I'm going to give some credit to the artists. And these are not copies, but they have been restored. One thing I like about this is the backs for a full moon deck, kind of pointing upward, I guess, has a waxing quality to it. Obviously at the full moon then we go into the waning portion, but up until then we've been increasing energy, so that looks like a little bit like an arrow pointing up. One thing that I liked about this deck compared to the Via Veil is that it's brighter colors, which to me said full moon a little bit more. The original, many of the other restorations of this do have the more moon white faces, and they chose not to do that with this. And I've seen some of the cards that they were working from, and I see why they made that decision, because it does look like some of the cards do have some some coloration to the faces. But those moon white faces that are typical, which are present in the Pablo Robledo version, would have made this a cool full moon deck. Now you can see that this is a type 1 Tarot de Marseille. We have a blindfolded Cupid here and scallops across the top of the Chariot card. I did want a type 1. The Convert is a type 2, which has a waning moon. The type 1 does have a full moon, so I thought that might be appropriate for a full moon deck. Now, of course, the Via Veil also has a full moon in it. So, you know, we're just making up the rules as we go along. We don't have to be completely consistent. But here we go, is a nice full moon. And unlike the Convert, this does have a lobster that's more at the surface of the water, where you can see its color better, which may also be an appropriate choice for full moon energy. Colors in this restoration are really beautiful. One of the reasons that I chose this as a full moon deck is that the Dodal has the best Queen of Batons ever. I love her so much. She is so done. She's not putting up with any of it. And that, to me, is pretty powerful, you know, the confidence of a full moon. I think that's a good thing. And I know in the Smithwaite tradition, she is associated with a fire sign. I see her as just more pragmatic and earthy. And that's one thing I love about the Marseille, where you can assign your own associations with each card instead of being bound up by somebody else's idea, like astrological associations. So I'm a Capricorn, and this looks like a Capricorn to me. This is what I would like to embody as a Capricorn. And it says full moon confidence to me. These are really interesting. The cups have all sorts of different levels of liquid in them, and it varies. I've only ever seen it like this in the Dodal, and then all of a sudden you get, you know, these ones, and then you get this. Like, what does that even mean? So I'm not sure if these are, you know, printing eccentricities that are just more highlighted in a restoration like this, but you can see them too in the Robledo version. And I'm not sure if they were possibly meant to mean something, or if it's just a printing foible. There's a little bird on this version of the Ace of Cups. So as you can see, there is a wide brimmed straw hat here that's a little bit reminiscent of a full moon shape, but other than that, there are not a lot of full moon looking aspects of this deck the way there are in the Convo. Even the coins are black and have a red center rather than a white center. So I'm not sure. I do question my decision whether I want this to be my full moon deck or not. Do I need to have a full moon deck, or can I just choose which one I want to use each time? That's another option as well. If I were keeping them in the tin, I really kind of wanted to be a little more matchy-matchy and have 2 Artisan Tarots in my moon tin. But do I want to keep them in the tin? I'm a little bit over the tins, maybe. I'm not sure. Not tins in general. Those little pocket tins are the best, but tins that weren't meant to go with the deck, I'm not sure how much I like them. I thought I would like them more than I do. So, something to think about. I love these decks, both of them. I'm glad I got them. I love artisan cards. I'm a big fan now. I was a little unsure at first of this linen cardstock, but it's so lovely. It's bendy, but still sturdy. So it's great. But what do you think? What is your moon practice? Do you have specific decks assigned to your moon draws if you do them? Do you have one for the full moon and another for the new moon? And yeah, let me know any other moon practices that you enjoy or find helpful. And I will just let you look at this gorgeous and interesting deck a little longer. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.